All right, guys, welcome to the Give It Podcast, a podcast for blurs, for nerds. If you have a fandom, you are most certainly welcome here. I'm host the most, Will Buchanan, aka Black Spartan. Of course, the man to my left, your right, depending on your screen is flipped, who apparently is 95% symbiote free, which means he's holding on to that 5%. What do you have for us today, sir?
I need the voice in my head for those long winter nights.
Of course, my co-host Joe Tonello. Together, we are the Give It Podcast. Much like the WWE old guys, we do have some choice language, but we don't try to cuss that much. At the same time, if we do show any trailers, guys, again, viewer discretion is advised because we do show very graphic, but hey, you know what you signed up for. Aside from that, welcome. We do have a guest. This man, like I said, we're back to having guests again. I love his name because every time I hear it, I immediately think Scooby-Doo. Just because I used to be able to do Scooby-Doo's voice. I can't do it anymore, which is sad. But again, I want to welcome Shaggy to the Give It Podcast. Good welcome, sir.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I actually got my buddy, the irredeemable Shag. I pulled him away from his 5 to 6 podcasts on the Fire and Water Network, which he happily, proudly runs. He is
co-run, to be fair.
Co-runs, to be fair, but we know who's the boss. We won't tell Rob.
That sounds like I need a duck and cover. A duck and cover moment.
I mean, look at it this way. Here's how I look at it: the firestorm comes before the Aquaman.
That's fair. And there's a long story behind all that I'll share in a bit that these poor gentlemen are going to have to hear.
Oh Lord! See again. I feel like I should immediately start taking the fifth. But before we get to that, guys, like we said, we are covering a lot. Before we get to our esteemed guest. We do have a trailer. I'm not sure about Apple Plus right now, just because number one, you basically gave one of my favorite shows a send-off I wasn't ready for, Ted Lasso. Love that show. Was about to consider canceling Apple Plus after Jon Stewart got axed. But this new trailer they have out, Monarch Legacy of Monsters. I'm indifferent about it, and I want to get you guys' opinions right after we play the trailer.
Monarch was there in San Francisco. When the whole city was coming down, these guys were taking pictures like they'd been waiting for it.
You think that your father was working for them?
This stuff was in a safe.
Who are they? What's Monarch?
There's a new world coming.
This is the world we live in. Monsters are an inescapable reality.
And it's just
Those files belong to us, and they are more important than you could possibly imagine.
There's a new world coming.
This is going to give me nightmares. Now, you can choke down that Monarch lie. About your father disappearing. Or we can find out what really happened before it's too late.
Oh my God, go!
This world, it's not ours. Believe me.
It is so much more vast than we could possibly imagine.
These monsters and Monarch have taken everything from me. No more.
The world is on fire. If we want to save millions of lives, we can use some help.
Okay, So, guys, that was, as you can see there, Monarch Legacy of Monsters. That will be streaming November 17th on Apple TV Plus. Fellas, I have to ask, because again, I'm gonna let Shaggy, we always let guests go first here. Sir, your opinion on Monarch Legacy of Monsters after seeing the trailer?
Let me preface by saying I was pretty indifferent about the first Godzilla movie they did. And then I forget, they've done 3 now, right? Is that right? Godzilla or King of the Monsters and then Kong, or just 2? I tell you what, actually, it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah,
because like the Kong one was the only one that kind of like interested me. I wasn't too excited about it. Mm-hmm. This trailer though had to pull me off the ceiling. I got so excited about this because the monster fights are fun, but they go on a little too long for me. The intrigue here, the subterfuge, the mystery, that kind of got me. And then they had me at Kurt Russell, so I was very excited by this trailer. I watched the one the trailer before this. Super jazzed for it.
Okay, Joe, what about you?
I'm pretty okay with it. I am unsure if the Japanese lady is supposed to be Kim Watanabe's daughter or another Monarch officer's daughter. I have not really looked into this. It's one of those I'm going to have to watch it via means. But I am more than happy to watch it because Godzilla is good Godzilla. And at some point, they got to get around to Jet Jaguar somehow.
Yeah, fair. But, I mean, that's the one thing I was kind of taking away from this. Like you guys, I saw it. I immediately thought Skull Island. I'm like, are they basically just repackaging Skull Island into a television series? But then I thought about, okay, you're trying to tell the Monarch story, which is slightly different. You're trying to bring the Titans more into this. And then there's always that what if of who the daughter is. Like you said, Joe, you don't know if the daughter is related to such and such. It's always an Easter egg somewhere along the lines on that. I'm not gonna lie, this makes me want to watch it. It does. I do agree with you, Shaggy. Sometimes the fights, don't get me wrong, I love kaiju fights as much as the next guy. But much like a WWE wrestling match, you need to wrap it up when it's time. When you have the expiration date, it's time to about wrap it up and go home. But no,
all Godzilla movies are a curious balance because if you get too much human, you get the first 2014 Godzilla movie where he's in there about as much as the original Gojira, which was fine back then, but we are a different people nowadays and we want our giant monsters. But if you go too much, then you're losing the spectacle goes away. You got to hit that sweet spot.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a way to, case in point. Godzilla versus Kong. We had those things in rounds. It was like, okay, first round, it was Godzilla. Let's just call it what it is. Godzilla pretty much said, 3 minutes, stay down. Kong comes back and says, no, you stay down. And then, then they had to team up to fight Mechagodzilla. So you notice that I want that type of fighting. It's a fight, but it's more like a round in the MMA fight or a boxing match. There's a decisive winner somewhere in the middle of that. But like you said, Joe, it's a sweet spot. It really is. Because if you go too short, people are going to be mad. You go too long, people are going to be bored. So I see what you're saying in that. But does it make you – I mean, I know, Joe, you said you're going to find it through other means, which, of course, on the Get Bit podcast, we do not suggest anything. If I put on a straw hat, that's your interpretation whatsoever. But – it makes me want to watch it. It sounds like everybody on the panel's on the same wavelength of that. But I did not expect. Don't get me wrong. I did not expect another Godzilla. I mean, I thought Skull Island was great. I thought they were going to continue with the Hollow Earth theory, and I thought they were going to continue with the what do we call it, Joe? In the trailer, we didn't call it Kong. What do we call it? The orangutan.
Oh, the return of Lanky Kong.
Yeah, the return of Lanky Kong is what we call him because it's like, no, you're not a gorilla, but you're not Diddy Kong either. So we will catch up with that as it comes along. But
I'm going to put it out there real quick. What I think this is going to end up being, I think this is going to be human centric. I think because first of all, it's a TV show, so their budget is much smaller than a film, and I guess it's a series, so we're going to get 3, 5, 10 episodes or something. So I doubt they have the money to give us a theatrical level thing. So I bet it's going to be following the humans, and suddenly there's a Titan battle, and they're just trying to survive. And the Titan battle's like on the side, and we're following Kurt Russell and the humans like trying to survive it. That's my guess. I'm really good at being wrong. So who knows?
But that could work though. I mean, it worked for The Walking Dead.
There you go.
I mean, it worked for The Walking Dead just fine. Why not for Kaiju? Although every time I see Kurt Russell, I just want to say Snake Plissken so bad.
1,000 roles. He's so good at. In fact, Joe was hyping our network a minute ago. We've actually got a show that one of our guys is starting about Kurt Russell next year.
Nice. Escape from LA will always be one of my favorite movies. But anyway, I do want to get to our guest because this man, I thought I worked. I thought I wore myself out on podcasts, sir. We have to give you the spotlight just because, sir. Wow, the stuff that you do. I mean, don't get me wrong. The stuff, sir, that you do, I am impressed. But the same way, and now my camera just wants to be special. Bear with me 1 second. That's what we want to do.
Oh, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that.
Oh, we give you the full treatment, sir. But I do want to talk about you, sir, because number one, Joe told me about you, and again, I want you, like I said, with your podcast. I say podcast in plural. Just go ahead and for all those that don't know, sir, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So my name's the Irredeemable Shag, and I am one of the co-founders of the Fire and Water Podcast Network. And while Joe gave me a lot of credit there, I am one of a large team. So yes, I'm one of the 2 co-founders of the network, but beyond that, I mean, we've got a team of like 11 producers, and beyond that, I don't know, like 15, 20 people that participate in the show. So it's a massive group. Everyone's producing different shows. I do a couple of shows on the network pretty, consistently, maybe 2 to 3 a month. But for the most part, it's really a team effort. It really is. So you tell me, you want to ask me questions? You want to hear me monologue for 20 minutes? You tell me how you want to do this.
I want to know how you got to the fire and water. That I can't even. I thought I was creative. How did you come up with that?
We're expecting the full Dr. Doom, Shag.
Yeah. If you do have a Dr. Doom monologue, go for it. I got to hear that.
I don't have that, but I will tell you the history. It's a little circuitous. So for how I got into all this crazy world, like I've been a big comic book fan forever. In fact, I managed a comic book shop during the 1990s, during the boom and the bust of comic book era in the 90s. So I was there. I was on the ground, man. It was real. Then in the late 90s, I managed Megaplex movie theater. So I had a lot of interest that kind of similar to what you guys have in some regard. And the podcast network itself, it grew out of 2 things from that. My need to get that nerd out of me. And I started off with blogging and then some podcast guest appearances I did. I started podcasting back in 2005.
Okay.
And at that point, I was just a panelist on a podcast with a bunch of my old college buddies. We would just get together. We'd just throw whatever topic we wanted. It was chaos. We're all talking over on top of each other, but it was fun. We had a good time. And then I did some guest spots with a comic book podcaster named Michael Bailey. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He is phenomenal. Michael Bailey is a great guy. He's a good, dear friend of mine. And I appeared on there a couple times, and that kind of got me the bug of wanting to do more podcasting. Then, so we got the podcasting side. Then on the other side was around 2008. I have a marketing background, and I wanted to understand what this thing called blogging was. At the time, it was still new and edgy, and I'm like, what the heck is this? So I wanted to figure it out, and I didn't want to do a business thing. So I was like, all right, I'll do a nerdy thing. So I created Once Upon a Geek, which was just a random geek topic blog. And I just, the real thing or reason I did is I wanted to figure it out and see if I could make it successful. So I did a whole bunch of like search engine optimization and linking to other sites and stuff, and it did pretty well actually. It was kind of exciting, kind of fun. And then the next year I decided I wanted to do something more niche. And I'm a big, I know you guys are a lot of Marvel fans, and I know Joe's got some DC in him too, but I'm a big DC guy. That's kind of where my love is.
You're in great company because
okay.
I'm DC first, Marvel second, so you're good.
Oh, okay. All right. With all the talk about Spider-Man, I figured I was in the minority. Cool. All right. So I'm a big fan of Fire. Wait, I'm sorry, Joe, what you say?
I keep telling Will he needs to be Mr. Terrific.
Michael Holt's pretty awesome.
Yeah. He's been trying to get me to cosplay. Him and several other friends have been. I'm like, look, I promise you, I will cosplay soon. It's just a 7-month-old will drain you. I love my son, but a 7-month-old will drain you.
I got some good news, bad news for you. There are some of the best years of your life. I've got a 17 and a 23-year-old. They still drain you. So it's never going to end, pal.
Fair warning.
So, all right. So it's Firestorm, right? So, like, I don't know if you know who Firestorm is, the Nuclear Man. I'm a big fan of Firestorm, and no one in 2008, there was no one filling that niche. So I'm like, all right, I could fill that niche. So I started a blog on Firestorm, and I was posting about it all the time. I kind of became the Firestorm guy on the internet, which is nothing to brag about, but it was kind of exciting for me. Got to interview a bunch of the creators. I talked with like Jerry Conway and John Ostrander and Pat Broderick and Jamal Igal, and eventually the later creators like Gail Simone, Dan Jurgens. Got to do a lot of cool interviews and stuff like that.
You look. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I saw your face. I want to know which name jumped out at you, because I love all those people.
All of them. That's all. That's what I was like. Oh, you look at me.
They're amazing folks. They're all so kind and so generous and amazing, and just the fact that they'd waste their time talking to me, or even, some of them it was just typing messages back and forth. But but they were great. So I kept up that site for about 7 years. And again, I wanted to make it. I did a whole search engine optimization. I made friends with a bunch of other bloggers and stuff like that. Started doing crossovers. I thought, all right, we're superhero stuff, right? So I'm going to do a crossover with the Aquaman blog. I'm going to do a crossover with the Martian Manhunter blog, and all these different blogs and everything. And I became friends with the guy who runs the Aquaman blog, a guy named Rob Kelly. And around 2011, he said, hey, he's thinking about doing an Aquaman podcast to go with the blog. He goes, but I don't want to do it alone. And he's like, and he'd heard me on Michael Bailey's show. That's where that earlier piece comes in. And he says, and he knew I liked Aquaman as well, and Firestorm. He's like, what if we did something like this? So we created the dumbest idea for a podcast ever, which was Aquaman and Firestorm. So why on earth? Now, keep in mind, this is before Aquaman was $1 billion property. So,
I mean, you say it's dumb, but I'm like, you can't help but the allure of just those two names put together. It's like, I'm intrigued.
It's a lot of driving by an accident and sort of looking and going, what is that? That kind of that's the intrigue level. So we did that, and we called it Aquaman, and we played around with the name forever. Like, okay, Aquaman and Firestorm. What are we going to call it? Aquaman, Water, Firestorm, Fire. That's where the name Fire and Water came from. So it was called Aquaman and Firestorm, the Fire and Water podcast. And I'll be honest, we just got lucky. That's all it really boils down to. We had really good chemistry. We had this very fake confrontational nature where we'd play and argue and all this stuff. And we seemed to click really well. And we did again, through luck, we really engaged with our listeners. They really connected with us. And so we started adding other topics like Who's Who. Who's Who is one of our favorite books of all time. So we went through that comic issue by issue, page by page. And that is what really built our audience. That's when we connected with thousands of people. It was all because of Who's Who.
Nice.
So we extrapolated from there. 2016, we gathered some of our fellow podcasters that we were friends with, knew we could collaborate with, and that's when we launched the network. So now the network's been going since 2016. As I said, we got a bunch of creators. We've got tons and tons and tons of shows out there. My personal projects. Oh, go ahead. What were we going to say there, Will?
Oh no, I'm listening. You say you don't have the doctor do a monologue, sir, but I'm sitting here just like, you go ahead, sir. You got it.
Well, Joe warned me. He said, "Hey, you got 30 minutes to monologue." I'm like, "What?" Okay. I'm not going to fill 30 minutes, but anyway. So
you're fine.
So my sort of pet projects, the shows that I do the most, and one that Joe was on was my Justice League International Bwahaha podcast. And I decided I wanted to cover the Giffen DeMatteis era of the league. The Kevin McGuire, the Bart Sears, all that stuff. So started with issue 1. Once a month, we'd do an episode covering an issue every month. Been going through it. Been doing it 7.5 years now. Almost done. Finishing it up next summer. It's going to be the end of this long journey. And again, had opportunity to interview all kinds of awesome creators like J.M. DeMatteis has been on the show, Bart Sears, Joe Phillips, Dan Jurgens, Jerry Conway. Amazing people. And if nothing else, out of everything I've done with podcasting, it's given me a chance to leverage and get to talk to amazing people. And Joe. So Joe didn't even realize that was a dick.
In my life, and Joe.
And Joe.
And Joe. I was like, just damn.
So that's a show I've been doing 7.5 years. Also, I do a show called Once Upon a Geek, which I kind of took the idea from my blog, and I do it as a podcast now. And it's really whatever I want to talk about. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, did an episode on Ted Lasso. Absolutely love that show. Will, it moved me. Absolutely moved me.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree. That show that actually got me watching Apple TV. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't find out about the problem with Jon Stewart until after Ted Lasso, but everybody kept saying, "Oh, you need to watch Ted Lasso. You need." It's like Jason Sudeikis. I'll watch him all day, and I was like, "Wait a minute." The first episode, and I found myself, and this is how bad it was. I didn't watch Ted Lasso till I think it was in its season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So season 1, I just sat there one night. And I'm like, I'll watch it. 4 hours later, I am catching up with the rest of season 2.
Same exact thing. Like 11 o'clock at night. I got one of those free trials specifically to try Ted Lasso. And I'm like, I'll watch one episode. Who cares, right? Yeah, 3 a.m, I then go to bed after binging almost all of season 1. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was amazing.
That's the one, and that was the one of one of the between that C and like I said, the problem with Jon Stewart, probably the best 3 shows on Apple TV Plus. But yeah, it's just just to go back to you for a second, it's like the names that you got to interview, I immediately became very jealous of. But just out of care, man, you say it's luck, but if you had to, and I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but if you had to say your crowning jewel, if you will, I never thought I would get to do this or interview this person or get to do this person. I gotta know if you're willing to share. What would that be?
So for me, it's that name, my first name I rattle off. It's Jerry Conway, because like those old Justice League issues and Firestorm are just in my DNA. Like I've interviewed Jerry, I think it's 7 times now, and that's the joy of it. Like when he and I and I'm not pretending he's my friend. I don't want anyone to think I'm misrepresenting here. I mean, he's a creator. I'm a nerd fan. That's it. But when we talk off the air, we have great conversations. He's so nice. He's so kind. We've talked about kids and family. He is just a wonderful guy. I mean, here, this shirt I'm wearing tonight is an old Justice League cover, Crisis on Earth Prime that he wrote. So that would be the joy for me, is being able to pick the brain of someone that just had such an impact on my comic book DNA. I mean, Spider-Man, Justice League, Punisher, Power Girl. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the fact you got to interview him more, that's the thing. It's like, we all have those, moments where, it's like that person you never thought you'd get to do, or that thing you never got to do, the thing you never thought you would get to do, and things of that nature. Overall, that's just pretty. That's pretty effing cool. Not to mention that you get to interview him more than once, and you have rapport with him. But aside from that, sir, I have to know, because again, it seems we're all in DC first. Which again, no mark on Marvel. My first comic was still to this day Action Comics, the first introduction of Superman. That was my first comic at 8 years old. So I've always been a DC fan. But just out of curiosity, because I just want your opinion on this, because we're all in the same age bracket at this point. Do you think, compared to the dawn of DC that you're seeing right now versus what we grew up reading, do you think it's going in a more positive direction, or should we be worried like we were when the New 52 came out?
All right, so I'll have to tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll have a little bit of an answer for you. I don't read a lot of new comics because they don't bring me a lot of joy.
Okay.
So I still read a lot of comics. I read a ton of old comics all the time. And I'm a full-on DC Ultra Infinite, Ultra Humanite, whatever subscriber. I'm all in on that. But I only dip my toe in every so often to read the newer stuff. So I've only read a little bit of the dawn of DC, and I mean a little bit. I was excited by Rebirth. Remember back in 2016, I feel like that was the right path. So I see DC does this thing over and over and over. It's a rinse repeat. It's they go shiny, everything's new, everything's great, everything's fresh. Oh, let's go dark. And then they go, oh, we went too dark. Let's go back. Let's do refresh. Oh, no one's going to die anymore. We're all going to be good now. Everything's going to be great. Oh, after Infinite Crisis, everyone's going to be happy again. Oh, and then they go dark again. And literally, it's just up and down. So I felt like they were going in a great direction after Rebirth. You know, like the Tom Taylor Nightwing was phenomenal. Oh gosh, I'm going to get his name wrong. Is it Jeremy McAdams, the guy who did Flash? Oh gosh,
Jeremy Adams.
Yeah, the Flash was fantastic. All these great books, and then they're like, "Oh, we're going dark again with Dark Terror or whatever." You know, it's like, "Oh, Casey, don't you learn?"
Me and Joe had a thing about that.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead, Joe. You can repeat what you said.
Wait, you expect me to remember something I said 2 years ago? No. No, actually, the Tom Taylor Nightwing has been nothing short of a joy and, quite frankly, very groundbreaking in a lot of ways. I cannot express that one enough. The moment we got out of Joshua Williams' Flash, which is Barry, and I love Barry, but that Flash has been nonstop good, pardon the pun. But when they leave poor Mr. Terrific to be Linda's beaten stick, that just made the book even better. I mean, you have the third smartest man in the DC universe getting just like, please don't hit me, Linda. We've lost Wally.
It's called being self-aware.
And some of the new stuff they're doing now, we get a nice JLI book with the Adventures of Fire and Ice. Blue Beetle's making a comeback. God rest Keith Giffen. I'm glad that this is going. I love the fact that how we got to learn of his untimely passing was they're not getting me to come to New York Comic Con now.
That tweet was just, or Facebook message, whatever, was just like, I had to read it like 3 times. I'm like, wait a minute. Did he not die? Is this a prank? What's going on?
The timing of that, just like,
I told him I was sick. I wasn't going to go.
What a Giffen move.
It really is. And then Superman has been nothing short of a joy. Green Lantern is still half good. That half only being the Jon Stewart, because we all know how petty I can get with Hal Jordan.
We know. We know. Go ahead. Say his name.
I already said Hal Jordan.
I thought you were really gonna go the man who shall not be named. I thought you were gonna say that for a second.
Voldemort's got nothing to do with this.
For the record, Hal Jordan is the worst.
I was more of a Kyle Rayner fan until Jon Stewart came along. So
there we
that
go.
was just me. Well, that was me. I never could get Hal, except that, you know, when Nathan Fillion kind of teased the whole thing about him playing, I'm like, okay, you're more Hal than Kyle. You're more Hal than Kyle. I can see that. But aside from that, it's always been Kyle for me, and then eventually Jon Stewart when I got to read his comic. But yeah, the reason why I asked that is just because I've always wanted this, and you hit such a nail in the head right there, where it's like, you know, Justice League kind of goes on this merry-go-round. It's like you have this wonderful good arc, great storytelling, and then it's like, let's go for the crossover event, and then you decide to say, well, let's do Night Terrors. No.
Or my personal favorite, let's make it all about Naomi.
Yeah. Oh, that's not your personal favorite. That's your albatross. That is your albatross. Which
he's nowhere to be seen in any of this, despite being part of the Superman family.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I hated that for that to have. I hated that for that to have an opportunity to shine, and it fizzled out. I mean, comic and television show both fizzled out. But no.
But we did get something good from all this, and this is something we can all agree about. We got Stargirl.
But it should have went to Max. I'm sorry, and Shaggy, I don't know if Joe told you this or not. When Stargirl first came out, I skipped it.
Yeah? Okay.
Joe sat there for the longest time, like, I was like, you just have to get past the first episode. Get past the first episode, you'll like it. And then you just go back and read the comic. I said, okay, fine. Muddled my way through the first episode, second, third, fourth, fifth. I'm like, okay, this is worth it. Second season, body rate just went up for no reason. And then you had crap, I can't think of his name to save my life right now.
The guy who played Shade? Or
yes. No, not Shade. Crap, I cannot think of that.
Eclipso?
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't. That's why I said I couldn't think of his name, because I was like, first and foremost, we and Joe both just sat there and said during one scene, I've never, when he was speaking to Dr. Midnight's I guess protege, because she didn't really take on the mantle of that. But it's just the fact he goes to her and just says, I've had very little interaction with people like you. And she's just like, excuse me? And me and Joe said, I think it's the first time on the CW they decided to cover the 1950s, the real 1950s. But they did it so lightly colored. But anyway, love the show. And I love the third season, which I thought was great. And I know the CW, it's if it's not Riverdale or Vampire Diaries or whatever teenage angst that it is, it doesn't make it long. But I was kind of hoping he would wind up on Max because I still think it deserved another season. But it's just like I said, shows like that. That's the one thing I always worry about with DC, because you have shows like Justice League Unlimited, which should still be running because it was great. Even though it's still on Max, but it still should be going forward. And then, of course, Titans wasn't bad. I mean, the third and final season, you did what you could. You did what you could at the time and see the episodes that you had. Again, I didn't think that was bad either. But just and this is actually this is the reason why I'm saying this, Shaggy, it's all going into my next question. Mm-hmm. That being said, do you have how do you feel about Gunn and his direction, him and Peter Safran taking the helm of DC as it is, and the fact that Gunn has pretty much put a Chinese wall between him and Warner Brothers, and with Peacemaker, with his Suicide Squad, and the fact that he is including Blue Beetle's Jaime, although the movie really should have got a lot more press, but hey, it was SAG and that whole strike, and it really didn't get the most stuff that it did. But with all that being said, what do you think about the current state of DC just all around, just from comics to shows to movies? Do you think it's in the right direction? Do you think we have the right person to do it? Or is it kind of like a wait until more comes out?
The comics, I can't speak too much, again, because of what I've been reading lately. I did read The Flash #1. I got some negative things to say about that, the one that came out a month or two ago. But I'll explain myself when we get to a certain spot in the show. But the movies, I am ready to give James Gunn a chance. I mean, with what he did for Guardians of the Galaxy, for what he did for the Suicide Squad, which was insane. And my wife, who has no patience for any of the crap we like, by the way, she watched the Suicide Squad with me. She didn't love it, but she said at the end, she's like, that was pretty good. That is astonishing praise from her. And I'm willing to see where he's going to go. I didn't like the Snyder direction of the films for the most part. There was, shining stars here and there in it. So I'm excited about where he could go, but DC has found a way to screw up their live action on the big screen for a long, long time. So, if this turns into Steel and, the Birds of Prey TV show or something, then it is what it is.
You're not wrong.
I hope I am wrong. I hope it's really good. I hope it's amazing.
No, the comparisons with Steel and Birds of Prey, that's all I was like, ooh.
I mean, he didn't take the easy route of the DC universe will be forever changed once I appear. It's like, for exactly 30 minutes, you are correct.
I was like, he was right. Yeah, I mean, The Rock was right. The hierarchy did change because Black Adam came and gone just that quickly. There was a shift. But, Black Adam itself, that, like I said before, it's a whole other thing of direction and story. And that's the one thing. It's like, I keep saying this, that there's nothing wrong with DC taking the same route Marvel did. There's nothing wrong because Marvel did actually take their time in creating a cinematic universe. DC could have done the same thing in 10 years. And even more, DC could have really told a more detailed story than Marvel did. Marvel was literally following a point A to point B formula. Like how do we basically get to the Infinity Stone saga through 22 movies? Whereas DC could literally tell the entire Silver Age to modern age without actually having a major crossover event. And you could do that easily and still be successful. But again, I'm the same way. I trust in Gunn. Gunn to me has proven how good of a director is, because if Marvel cuts you, and then you go to and DC welcomes you with open arms, and then Marvel / Disney comes back and says, you know what, we may have acted a little too harshly. I mean, it's tweets. You've apologized for them, and want you to come back, and then you give us a tearjerker of a Volume 3. Which to this day I can't listen to Radiohead without tearing up now. I can't listen to Radiohead now. But that's what makes me think I can trust Gunn. That okay, especially what he's doing, Creature Commandos. Again, and I love the fact that he's not, how can I put it so nicely? He's not going for the easy fruit. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a Batman fan. I love Batman. Do I think we need more Batman movies? No, I don't think we do. I'm a Superman fan. Do we need more Superman movies? No, but you need to figure out how to get Henry Cavill back, in my opinion, if that's what you want to go, if that's what you want to do. Same with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman needs to owe us another movie after 84 for various reasons. But he didn't go for the low-hanging fruit. He decided to go for the ones that people never heard of, or it sparks that memory for a lot of us. It's like, oh, you're going that route. And I love that, especially with the fact that he's already turned around and said, you know what, I'm starting with Blue Beetle, which again is, in my opinion, one of very few DC heroes that really should be getting more shine. And I think, him starting with Blue Beetle and really building the DC Cinematic Universe around that, to me, is great. But I'm with you. I trust in Gunn. And the fact is, as Joe has pointed out many times on this podcast, that man stays on Twitter to defend anything that comes out, whether it's true or false. That man I thought that man had a group of people. That's him. Now, we've all known folks that have been on social media and the phones never left their hands. Either that man has a dedicated group of people on his Twitter, or he stays attached to that phone every time something comes out about DC. He's like, and nope. He's like, we have casting for Superman. Who told you that? Or if the casting is right, cat's out of the bag. You know who the new Superman and Lois are. But that to me just screams that I can trust Gunn. But Joe, you want to add anything else to that, man?
I am looking forward to the new Superman because I can tell he's read more than the Death and Rebirth of Superman. Much like the last regime, I truly only think he read 3 books: The Death, Rebirth, and The Dark Knight Rises. I'm also really interested because he's using a lot of JSA and JLI characters in his movie.
Yeah,
and
he said recently he's a big JLI fan, so that's great.
That's even better. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's slowly moving into that era of Justice League right before Wade took it over, where it was Superman and Wonder Woman kind of tag teaming in and out of the Blah League.
Mm-hmm.
Almost.
But
so I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm with that. It's like it makes me feel good because, again, when I have other friends who are Marvel friends, they're like, you know what? Every time DC comes out with another movie, it's like, will you going? Yes, I'm going, because I will support DC the same way I supported Marvel. In the same way I would support Milestone. If Milestone ever decided, you know what, let me shut up and not go that negative route.
Didn't Gunn say he wants to do something with the Milestone characters?
He has said multiple times, and I'm just like, the Milestone Collective, I'm like, what are you? Oh, it's like, what are you waiting? It's like, it is amazing to me that here's how I know, and we'll go on to the news after this. Here's how I know that some characters we have been waiting for, that all someone has to do is say it. When Gunn sat there and said, there are some characters from Milestone I would love to do, I'm like, everybody immediately thought it. Static. Static was the first person on everybody's mind because, number one, the CW kids had an amazing animated show that ran for a while because of it. You may or may not have mentioned him on Black Lightning. It's argued about a scene where the kid's name was Virgil, and it was argued that was supposed to be Static. But again, I digress. You have between that, Icon and Rocket,
that's Hardware, what I want. That's what I want. Icon and rocket. That's what I want.
It's just like you really have the foundation to really be different than Marvel. Like I would love Marvel to do some other obscene characters outside of Guardians of the Galaxy, because let's be honest, Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't popular until Gunn made it popular. And how did he do that? With a kick-ass soundtrack. For 3 movies, a kick-ass soundtrack.
Yeah, but what Canadians could we possibly use to make Alpha Flight as popular?
I was gonna say Wigwam, but it's already been used. We can't use Wigwam. It's like, although it would still fit though. Although when you hear "Do you really want to taste it?" you'll be immediately thinking Pacemaker. You'll be thinking Peacemaker instead of Alpha Flight.
It'd be a lot of Bryan Adams songs. So
I can see that too. I can actually see that. But again, thank you, sir, for the Doctor Doom monologue. I knew you had it, just because the moment I heard your voice, I'm like, he has monologues. I just need to sit back and wait.
Now tell us about your love for Blue Devil.
oh my gosh, we don't want to start down that path. That's one of my favorite characters of all time. I will tell you one quick story though, which is I used to, well, not so much after the pandemic, I used to travel a lot for work. Mm-hmm. And I go from town to town, and I go and seek out people that I've met online. And one time I went to a certain town in Tennessee, and I reached out to a particular cosplaying nerd while I was there, and we had dinner. What's that?
I said hello there.
Hello. Joe and I had dinner, and it was lovely. We got a chance to get to know each other. We're just chatting and everything. And then he goes, hey, listening to your podcast, I noticed that I think you're from North Florida, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm from Florida. That's right. And then he just randomly mentions the middle school he went to, which is exactly the school my daughter was attending at that moment.
Wow.
How insane is it that I went all the way up to Tennessee from my town and met a guy who went to the same school as my daughter? It was just, I don't know, one of those crazy cosmic things. And I had to mention it because here I am on Joe and Will's show. And small world is never been truer.
Man, you are not kidding there. But no, yeah, Joe with the Obi-Wan just that's like he usually is a little bit louder. That's all. I was like, I heard the hello there. I just almost went to General Grievous. No, let me shut up. But thank you, sir, for the monologue. But yes, we do have some news again, guys. New York Comic Con has came and gone. Fellas, I gotta ask before we get into this. Do we feel like cons again? Because with the writers guild reaching their deal, unfortunately unfortunately SAG is still going through their ordeals. Last time I checked into it, the CEOs of the AMPTPs were coming back to the negotiating table, so hopefully something will get done. But we here at Gibbet Podcast will always support unions. We will always support the actors and the writers, which is why we try to avoid anything new unless it's already been out there. But with that being said, we have noticed that cons have been affected by this. Now, Shaggy, I'm going to throw this at you first. Because the fact that actors, because on strike and because of the SAG-AFTRA rules, that some of them were attending not as panel guests, but your regular average cosplayers or goers. We've seen that because apparently one person recognized Daredevil as Bluey at New York Comic Con.
That's awesome.
But with that being said, a lot of people have sat there and said that Comic Con is actually back for comic and cosplay and things of that nature. It's made it better. My question to you, sir, is that because of that and the way cons are now, do you think cons are better for it, or have they been affected by the lack of star power?
The answer's both. As an attendee, I would say they're probably better. Now, I personally don't go to San Diego Comic-Con. I don't go to New York Comic-Con. The Comic-Cons I tend to go to are more fan-driven anyway. They're like Heroes Con in Charlotte or Gallifrey 1, which is a Doctor Who convention in LA. Those are Dragon Con. Those are all fan-driven cons, not corporate-driven. So they're a little bit different. And I think those are always better environments anyway. So I would say I feel like they're better for having more of a fan-produced environment, which is a lot healthier for the attendees rather than corporate shoving it down your throat. Fair. The downside is I feel bad for the vendors. There are less attendees. They're probably making less money. And that's unfortunate to them that an argument between the people who generate the content is impacting the little guys, and that makes me sad.
Fair enough. Joe, what about you?
I mean, I'm all for the comic book people coming back and taking over. That means we have more comic book based guests. I mean, Music City Comic Con happening this weekend. I'm gonna go get to meet Todd Knock, who did Stargirl, and Mark Bocciolo as artists and whatnot.
Wow.
And if you're there, we need to politely and not bully, but somewhat bully them into coming onto the show.
I'm sending you. I've been look. Unless I smile, I've been told I look intimidating. I'm sending you first.
Yes, send the 5'5" nondescript semi-Asian dude to go ask people. That's gonna go. That just screams intimidation. This isn't The Simpsons where it's not. But March, the little guy, hasn't done anything yet.
See, but they're waiting. That's the intrigue. The little guy's gonna do something as long as you watch him. But no, you are right.
But seriously, to answer the question, I mean, there are certain things that I would love to come back. I mean, at New York Comic Con, I think we mentioned this last time. Ewan McGregor just came on stage and talked about how he can't find a good cup of tea. Mm-hmm. He can't promote anything for any upcoming projects, which, kind of sucks. But at the same time, we did get some announcements that came out and fans were not happy. Dragon Ball Daima. But, we also got, but we can't get any new Marvel news, which where they are right now with the fan base, maybe hit or miss. So, because, what I call the Marvel team up phase has been very divided. Mm-hmm. On its quality. DC doesn't really have anything to promote at the moment because James Gunn just won't promote anything unless he actually has something to say.
Which is smart because we've seen fan casts.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the biggest runner in New York Comic Con was Skybound Entertainment.
Yeah.
Because they got Invincible coming out and they are heavily promoting the new Transformers comic because they're getting their own Energon universe with Void Rivals, Transformers, Duke, and Cobra Commander, respectively. So, I mean, it's a good time as a comic book goer. It's not as great a time as a media goer.
Yeah, I will agree with that. Like you said, with Music City Multicon happening, I'm hoping just because I would love to take my sons and my wife because I love going to cons. My son, my 10-year-old son, he loves going to cons, and the 7-month-old just as long as people pay attention to him, he's fine. But no, Joe is right though. If you do, and again, this is kind of like saying before, cons right now, I think without the star power makes it that more enjoyable. But to Shaggy's credit, yes, it does kind of hurt the vendors a little bit because me and Joe talk about this all the time about vendors. Don't always go for I always say it's not a knock against big name market vendors that you see at cons. I like the smaller ones. Number one, you're almost bound to get almost anything you want. As Joe will tell you, I will find Gundam kits. Or he'll point them out to me and say, "Hey, so and so in the corner has some Gundam kits. You might want to check them out." That's my big thing. But I love
I'm
that
still like 15 books away from having Kyle's entire run in singles.
See,
very cool.
And that's another thing too. You actually, and to me, it's like to what Joe just mentioned. You'll be amazed what these vendors will have if you only will look. And it's not always, like I said, it's not always big names, it's always small names too. And you know what? I always said this too. And again, it's not 100% science. Take this as you will. Small vendors will always give the best deals because nobody wants to pack all that stuff up and take it with them.
Last day of the show is the best day to offer a deal.
Pretty much. We say it all the time on this show. If you go on the last day of the con or you catch that vendor at that one time they're just ready to go home, you'll be surprised what you'll be able to get. That's all I'm saying.
I got 3 Generation X figures from Columbia Comic Con for $20. So I wound up with a Emma, a Jubilee, and a not Penance. I can't remember his name now, and He's my favorite character. That's how that usually works. The one with no mouth.
Chamber.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow, that's sad. Oh, and I also found a Lorna because I love Lorna.
No, don't feel sad. Don't feel sad, Joe. I forgot my password 6 times today, and I'm the administrator. So if you can't remember one name, and I can't remember a system that nobody can get into, you're doing all right in life. So you're good there. But again, with the New York Comic Con guys, there was news that we did get. We want to start with Star Trek Prodigy because Star Trek Prodigy was on the chopping block. It was initially under Paramount Plus, right along with a slew of other Star Trek shows, Star Trek Discovery, Picard, and Lower Decks. And of course, Prodigy was on the chopping block. It was actually canceled. But we can report that it has been picked up by Netflix. So Netflix did save Star Trek Prodigy. Again, if you don't know what Star Trek Prodigy is, it's more of a show direct to a younger generation with Catherine Janeway from Star Trek Voyager. That's actually a star on the series. Also, Star Trek Voyager. If you haven't seen it, would recommend it. Well, actually, I recommend every Star Trek series. There's not a bad one among the bunch, honestly. But again, a great show. I love the fact it was picked up, and hopefully will be given a run to either wrap it up or to extend it. Like I said before, when you get these big budget shows, you worry immediately. That is it because of the budget, or do you think that because we're such in a ratings area that they turn around and they say, well, if it's not hitting this certain demographic, we have to cut it, despite continued success. So Shaggy, I'll start with you. With the news of Prodigy being moved, is this just another example of a show that's just, it's great, but by some executive standards, it's not worth saving? Or do you think they just pulled the gun a little bit too early?
I think it's option C. I think it's a weird situation because it was developed between Nickelodeon and Paramount. And so the fact that they didn't just stop it, they pulled it entirely from Paramount Plus tells me there's something weird there with the rights. So, and season 2 was done. They had already finished it, except for some post-production when they pulled the plug, which makes no sense. So I'm just glad it's on Netflix because I think the show is phenomenal. I went into it with zero expectations, and it's not my favorite Star Trek, but it's up there. I love it. I actually cheer during the opening credits. I love it so much.
Joe, what about you?
It's a great continuation of Voyager. I kind of wish we get some more cameos, but I really just want to know what happened to Chakotay at this point.
Season 2 is going to tell you.
I was going to say, I think in season 2 they're going to cover it. That's just an animated guess. But again, really glad that this got picked up. I'm still kind of sad because Discovery is going to have its final season, but at least we still have Strange New Worlds until Paramount decides to cut that too, which let's be honest, they might. Move right along, guys. We do have a Godzilla series, which again we did cover. Legacy of Monsters, which was the trailer that we did show earlier. As we said before, I keep on wanting to say Snake Plissken versus Godzilla. I'm trying not to say it because I'm mixing genres together. But again, that's what the trailer that we did show at the beginning of the show, which will be on Apple TV Plus. This I wanted to get to you guys. This I wanted to bring up with all of us because I don't know about this. DC is reviving the Elseworlds tale with 6 series. Now, which 6 series are they going with? They're going first. This is first Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian.
No, let me.
Go ahead.
Batman. Something with Batman, but also vampires. Oh, and a Green Lantern.
I wish I could make that up. He's not kidding. Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age, Batman the Barbarian, Dark Knights of Steel, All Winter.
Now, hold on. To be fair, that one is Deathstroke. Even though it's spinning out of a Batman crossover, yes. that one's Deathstroke.
That's fair.
Yes, but Batman's the kingdom that Deathstroke the Viking is invading.
Fair.
Pretty much. Green Lantern Dark, as Joe had pointed out, and again, I'm trying to be nice about this. And of course, Batman Nightfire, and then DC versus Vampires World War V. I'm okay. I did stress at the beginning of this. I am a Batman fan. I don't know if this is and again, I do love Elseworld stories. I do. There are some great ones out there. There's some out there that'll make you cringe a little bit. But I have to ask the group in this, do we have faith in this, or should we just wave at it as it passes us by?
I'll take a shot first. I wish that the Elseworlds imprint had never gone away. And I don't think it needs a big production like this to release it again. It's the name Elseworlds is not marketable. It's what you tell the story of. DC versus vampires, that's what you're selling, not the term Elseworld. So I think it's sort of silly that it went away, and I think it's kind of weird that they're trying to rebrand it as a big deal again. Just tell good stories and say they take place in an alternate universe. They never stopped telling alternate tales. They just took the Elseworlds label off it. So yeah, it's way too Batman heavy. Way too bad. And out of all these, the only two that has any interest for me is Gotham by Gaslight, because I was there when the first one came out. So I'm a sucker for nostalgia. And that's who they're after, is my money. And then Green Lantern Dark looks pretty good too.
Joe, what about you?
It's a necessity to move the imprint to make it Batman centric. There's just no other way around it.
It's too. I never thought I'd say this. It's really too much Batman. I never thought in my 40 years on this earth I would ever say that. It's too much Batman. I get the fact, like Shaggy said, I get the fact it's Elseworlds. You don't have to make Elseworlds the moniker. Elseworlds just pretty much tells us, yes, this is your version of What If. We are completely okay with that. Stick with the title. If you just sat there and said, like Shaggy said, if you sat there and said DC versus vampires, World War V, and then somewhere in the imprint, an Elseworld story, I would read it more. I really would.
At this point, most of their Elseworlds are just written by either Tom King or Tom Taylor. True. The Toms are the kings of the Elseworlds at this point over at DC.
No, very much true. But that's why I said I'm a little bit worried because, and I know Shaggy, you being from a marketing background, does it make you cringe when you see stuff like this? If a client comes to you and says, this is what we want to do, we think this is the right path. You being the advisor, does it make you cringe and go, at least you tried, or it's like, let's try going a different direction?
Actually, when I think is, okay, someone crunched the numbers and said Batman's the only thing selling for us right now, which is actually the more scary thing for me. Yes, they should have gone to a deeper creative pool, but their numbers are telling them that they can't sell Flash Elseworlds or something, that they can only sell Batman books, and that is terrifying for me as a DC fan.
Fair enough, because again, there are other heroes, but I feel like I'm going to sound like a broken record when I say this. But did want to cover this as well because we do have some comic author news as well. This was not on my bingo card of 2023. That not only are we going to get another John Constantine Hellblazer run, and forgive me if I destroy the name, sir. I don't mean to.
Cy Spurrier.
Thank you. Cy Spurrier and Aaron Campbell will be handling the run for John Constantine Hellblazer, which, again, this was canceled in 2020 for reasons beyond my comprehension. Because the run in 2020, and I don't mean to be yelling, the run in 2020 was great, and yet it was canceled. Now they're actually going to be bringing it back in January 2024 under the DC Black label. I am all for this because I am a Hellblazer fan. Drinks with Friends is still one of my favorite story arcs. And I just, to me, I always be that person like, why do you keep running it, but you cancel it? Give it a steady stream and just let the writer do his thing. That's my thing. But Joe, Shaggy, your thoughts on this?
Go ahead, Jack.
I will just say I didn't read the original run by Cy Spurrier and Aaron Campbell on this, but I love Hellblazer back from the Garth Ennis days. I was a big fan for that. That was a great example of just letting a writer run and go and do years of a long-form story. That was great. I liked Cy Spurrier's Black Knight miniseries he did at Curse of Ebony Blade. I thought that was very good. Mm-hmm. So it's encouraging. Now here's where I could round back to where I read Flash recently. I read Flash #1 by Cy Spurrier. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel like he was the right guy for that book. I feel like we didn't have Wally for 15 years or something. Once Barry came back, we finally get Wally, and then you go a dark direction with Cy Spurrier. that just didn't feel like two Lego pieces that fit together to me. Maybe
So-
he'll prove me wrong. I only read one issue. But
so I read
Come on,
issue
Constantine.
2.
Okay.
So I read issue 2, and there is some cosmic horror in it, but it's also goofy.
Okay.
Very.
All right. All right. So sounds like he's a great fit for Hellblazer, though. So I'm excited for that.
Oh, I'm excited that they, again, and I'm trying not to yell because my mind goes right back to 2020. Like, you literally killed it as he again was about to be on the verge of dying again, and it was a great story, and they killed it. It's still okay. Let me be nice. I'm glad it's coming back. Let me just be happy about that. But anyway, other comic book creator news. Philip Kennedy Johnson. That's a name. That's a name that should be on a Spider-Man comic. That really should be J. Jonah Jameson's right-hand man, because Philip Kennedy Johnson is a name that I did not expect. He will actually be leaving Action Comics. He will still be writing Superman. But as you can see right there, guys, Jason Aaron, Joshua Williamson, Mark Waid, and others will be coming in to write for the book in 2024. Was that you, Joe?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I knew that was you. Go ahead.
So I have a real problem with Jason Aaron writing a team book. And that is Jason Aaron can't write a team book. He wrote probably one of the worst. He wrote a terrible run of Avengers. Just the absolute worst run of Avengers I've read in a while. Like, he does wonderful books when they are a solo character focused.
Mm-hmm.
Like his Mighty Thor, amazing. His run on Thor as a whole, amazing. His take on Punisher recently, amazing. Avengers, set it on fire and get it away from me. I really worry because Action Comics is about the Superman family. So we are dealing with John, John, Connor, the twins, Kara, Superman, Lois, just the entirety of the Superman family. And Jason Aaron coming to that book terrifies me because I've seen his work on team books and I do not like it. Now, I do know that Mark Waid and Josh Williamson will be switching out between story arcs. Josh Williamson is now handling Superman proper. He's got a great voice. Mark Waid, I don't know what his Superman is like. I don't know if he's ever written. Has he written Superman?
Mark Waid? He did Birthright, which was supposed to be the reinvention of Superman's origin that was in place for about 15 minutes. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So maybe wait, isn't Birthright what James Gunn is basing Legacy off of?
I think he's also leaning on the Authority, but we'll see what happens.
So I don't know too much about Waid outside of how he handles Superman in Justice League. But that was also when Superman was zippy and blue and kind of freakazoidish.
I like Electric Superman. Shut up.
No, I love Electric Superman. That's why they gave John and his son the Electric Superman powers for also 15 minutes. That's just where my standing on it is. I also wonder if Philip Kennedy Johnson's like, yeah, I'm gonna write Superman. They can't stop me.
That's
the same way they stopped. I want to say it was Tim Seeley who was writing before they took it and gave it to Bendis, and Bendis ruined everything.
That is a good question. I can't say it 100% certainly that's right.
I don't know if that's right or not. I know they took it away and it was great, and then Bendis ruined everything. So I just hope that doesn't happen again with Jason Aaron on Action Comics.
In preparation for the show, I dug out my tablet, got on DC Infinite, and I read the most recent issue on there with Action Comics by Philip Kennedy Johnson. It was the Blue Earth story with that terrorist group, and it was damn good. It was. I'm sorry, forget my language. It was really.
You're good.
Oh, I'll drop a couple F-bombs then.
No, seriously, you're fine. Go for it.
But it was really good. So when I saw that he's leaving, I'm like, oh, that kind of bummed me out because I really enjoyed that. Now, Joshua Williams on Superman, I read one of those too, the Change story, and that was a really great one too. So I'm like, okay, Superman's in a good place right now, and maybe they shouldn't mess with the formula. I don't know.
I'm with Joe because I'm just like, I don't know if it's Yeah, the
I
jury's still
think we
out.
looked at like 3 Avengers books purely for like tie-in reasons.
Yes.
I think maybe for for AXE,
Yeah.
and they were not that great either, and they were tie-in books.
Yeah, we kind of glided through those, and I mean, like from in and gave the artist credit and said, "Yeah, you may not want to read it," but that's pretty much how we left it. But the jury's
It's
still
very
out.
pretty to look at, but do not look at the words.
I mean, it's not like the Spider-Man run was Zeb Wells.
Ooh, that's true. Oh, by the way, it's bad again.
Huh?
By the way, it's bad again.
That's going.
But to my credit, I am absolutely correct of what's going to happen in Dark X-Men.
This is going to be a long winter. That being said, guys, Marvel itself has decided that if Elseworld is going to have something, Marvel's going to have Ultimates. As you can see here, guys, they are releasing the new Ultimate line with Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate Spider-Man, the Ultimate Universe, and the Ultimate X-Men. All of these titles will be launching next year. They're supposed to be set in an all-new Ultimate realm. I gotta ask, fellas, how do we feel about this?
I feel really strongly about this. I think this is ridiculous because, like, they launched the Ultimate line to make it accessible, right? Yeah, the original one, right?
Yeah.
Then it gets bogged down in its own creativity, and the sales drop, so they shut it down. They make a big freaking deal about shutting it down. Secret Wars was huge, right? And so it's the Ultimate. It's all coming together. It's all coming down, and then they do it again. It's like launching the new universe a second time. It's not the right thing to do
at all. I fully agree. I was kind of cringing. I'm like, why are we going back to Ultimates again? And I don't get a Blue Marvel storyline. But Joe,
I'm kind of right there with Shag. I mean, let's be honest. The only thing the Ultimate Universe gave us that was long lasting, and probably the highest thing, was Ultimate Spider-Man. And I do mean Ultimate Spider-Man was the best book they had. Then very distantly followed by Ultimate X-Men. I'm not even going into the Ultimates. God help me on that one. But we also got one of the best things for any POC person out in the comic book industry now. We got Miles out of it, which is he is now one of the most important characters in Marvel Comics. I mean, I'm playing a video game with him right now, and the moments I have in that game as Miles are touching, and I've cried. And we have friends that are playing this game too, who are constantly reporting on this, who is much more in touch with that stuff than I am. And he's saying the exact same thing. So the Ultimate Universe, more accessible, ultimately kind of failed in a lot of things, but at least we got one thing out of it. I am looking forward to at least 2 of the books out of this lineup, because we get, there we go. Ultimate Spider-Man is going to be written by Jonathan Hickman and drawn by Mark Tichetto. That's good. We got a solid writer and a solid artist. On top of that, he's doing the inverse. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Jonathan Hickman can't write an accessible comic. He can write. He writes giant tapestries that are amazing and deep and rich, and you have to know everything from issue 1 to issue 167 to get it all. So he can't do a book that you can pick up on issue 42 and go, oh, okay, I can pick this up. This is the only one I've read. I know exactly what's going on. He can't. So I think he's the wrong guy for an accessible book.
This is true. This is a very true statement, and I can't argue with that. However, and the only thing I'll say, which is not however, but he is going the inverse route of Ultimates. He is making a older Peter Parker, late 20s, early 30s, who he expressly said in the interview, my Ultimate Spider-Man is going to be a Peter B. Parker situation.
Ooh, okay.
So we get a good team out of that, and Shaggy, you're not wrong. He can now write an accessible book. He is not Jed McKay who remembers everything and makes it accessible. He is. I just read his first new take on Magic Gods. I don't know what the god's name I was looking at half the time, and I think most of his characters were original characters, and still.
Joe's about to pull one more from the comic book list. This is Spider-Man Zeb Wells all over again. this is
God, I hope not.
It's simple.
Ultimate Black Panther. Ultimate
So,
Black Panther is being written by Brian Hill with art by Stefano Caselli. Again, solid writer. Brian Hill is currently writing Blade. Blade's at a really good place right now. Also accessible to a lot of young girls because he's running around with his daughter.
Yep.
We'll talk about that in a little bit when we cover comics. However, their take on it is it's Blade basically versus Moon Knight because Black Panther versus Moon Knight because the Egyptian Empire ruled by Ra and Khonshu are sending Moon Knight to take over Wakanda.
And Khonshu and Bast have a history. They have a history. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking forward to that story. If anything, out of the Ultimates.
The other thing, so Marco and Hickman and Giacchetto are also writing Ultimate. I don't care about that book. I don't care about the Greater World. I don't care about Ultimate Avengers. They're just kind of weird and creepy men and women who do weird and creepy stuff half the time. The one thing I am looking forward to, Ultimate X-Men, which is going to be written and drawn by Peach Momoko. Okay. This is looking at the new squad of X-Men where she is going to be using lesser-known characters. We're going to have a hybridized universe history, so a little bit of everything's going to be in there. And looks like her frontrunner is going to be Armor, which is one of my favorite X-Men. And if you need to look at a Peach Momoko art to really see this, that woman can make a splash page like no one's business.
I mean, if anything, it's as close to anime drawing, but I just like the contour of it, the contour, the detail, and Joe's 100% right. That is,
it's like looking at a watercolor book,
pretty much. But I mean, it's beautiful. It's really what it is. Before I start sounding like an art person, anyway. Aside from that, because Joe did mention Miles Morales, would you believe, of all things, on the bingo card of 2023, that the next Marvel crossover involves Blade, Miles Morales, and vampires? This was not on my bingo card of 2023. After the next Marvel crossover event will be called Blood Hunt. Of course, as you know, it's vampire themed. The series will be led by Jay McKay, Pepe Larraz, and Marty Garcia, with other creative teams that will handle it in different issues. Basically, it is going to involve, if it hasn't already been said, it will involve vampires. Actually, one of the comics we cover in the comic book pool later on will basically be a part of this. So you will see the Avengers, Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, Miles Morales, of course, Blade and his daughter, and various other characters. I've always said Blade should always be given the forefront in a few things. But I did not see Miles Morales basically being a vampire hunter. So I'll give it to Marvel. I will give you a 9 for creativity because I'm glad it's not zombies. My whole thing was, I was like, please don't let it be zombies. Please don't let it be something that we already have seen. It's been done. It's been knocked to the ground. Give us something different.
It's getting a new book this week. Marvel Zombies, Red, White, and Blood.
It's like, I'm sorry. I'm a big fan of George A. Romero. I am a big fan of Marvel Zombies. To me, I am just zombied out, which makes me glad that, okay, it's vampires, but you're taking a different turn about it. You're introducing Miles Morales, who I always said should always have a bigger standpoint in the Marvel Universe. I also believe that, having someone different to kind of be the mentor leader was needed, which I think Blade is perfect. And the fact that Blade has a daughter, and I don't mean to go too far into it because it goes into one of our comics we're reviewing, but I love the direction they took with him in that. So again, guys, knowing this, and this is the next crossover event after Fall of X going into Blood Hunt, how do we feel about Marvel's next venture?
Joe, you want to go first?
I'm looking forward to it because the vampires have been very consistent all throughout Marvel as of late. They have been dealing with the X-Men via the Exterminators and just in general. they are a very consistent theme in Moon Knight because Moon Knight's secretary is a newly turned vampire, and he's been dealing with vampires almost consistently throughout his book, either in montage panels or directly. Blade has just been killing it as of late. I've been reading it. We haven't really recommended it, but that's just because other books like need to go forward, or we need to sit there and warn people don't read Cyborg.
Oh, he cannot catch a break.
No, the writing's great. It's the artwork that kills the book this time.
Thank you. Joe has to speak on Cyborg because I get annoyed.
And Miles is still a consistently good book. I believe Miles is now under Cody Ziegler because Saladin Ahmed is doing Daredevil right now. Yes. It's just been fun. Now, we are getting a little weird with Miles' electric powers. They took a note out of the Flash's CW, and now he can make electro venom swords when he needs to, which is sure.
Yeah, because lightsabers get you sued.
Remember when Spider-Man could throw like darts and stuff? That everyone just kind of pretended that never happened. I'm thinking that'll happen with that sword eventually.
Probably. Now, what do we got against Ben Reilly with his stinger darts?
No, I'm not talking about Ben Reilly. I'm talking about when Peter went through the other story and he came out with
where he had like the bone spikes.
Yeah, see,
like,
everyone forgot about that, so we can forget about stinger swords. Sure, why not?
But we need this. But we need the venom swords to hunt vampires.
Oh, one storyline, sure. Like for me, I'm not reading any of those books. I don't even know most of those creators. But I love the idea of Miles, who comes at this sort of thing with like a fresh teenager perspective of like, what am I in the middle of? Sort of the everyman, if you will. So having him in that situation, like you said, Blade sort of also being a bit of a mentor to him, maybe like Cable was a mentor to the New Mutants kind of thing. Yeah. That could be really interesting to see where that goes. And again, Miles is so much fun anyway that just seeing him freak out about going against vampires is probably going to be amazing.
I gotta shut up because it goes right back. That goes right into the comic review. But yeah,
I just want to see Miles dealing with the goofiness that is Moon Knight.
That's gonna be the okay. First off, Moon Knight's already just a handful in itself. Do you really want to put somebody like Miles Morales in the same room as Moon Knight and realize that Miles is talking to 3 different people? He does the realization of it all. It's like, how many people am I talking to? All 3. It's like, well, which one is it? All of us. So, do you all agree? Sometimes. It's just the conversation between those two is going to be, first off, funny as hell. At the same time, it is going to confuse the hell out of Miles Morales. I cannot wait for that.
Also, having Miles talk to Moon Knight's cohort, Hunter's Moon, will also be hilariously fun. Because his mother is still a nurse. It's like, so you're a doctor? My mom's a nurse. He's like, I'm not that kind of doctor, I think.
That man is literally half semi-serious, but at the same time, it's like he means everything that he says. But with that being said, guys, we're going to go and move into our comic pools before we decide to completely spoil the reviews that we've done on these. So, Joe, just let me know when you're ready, man. I can go ahead and poke them up.
Yep, getting them pulled.
But while you're doing that, sir, we do actually want to very quickly shout out Rick's Comic City. Rick's Comic City, guys, if you are in the Nashville area, they have been, and I checked on this, for the last 6 years, voted number one in Nashville place to go to for comic books and things of that nature. Definitely check them out. They have 2 locations, one in Nashville, Tennessee, and one in Clarksville, Tennessee. Of course, Locker Nerd in Clarksville, Tennessee. Definitely check them out, whether in person or online at rickscomiccity.com for comic books, for mangas, for toys, for collectibles, for posters. Trust me, they got a lot. Just let them know that we sent you. It doesn't get you any discounts. It just lets you know that they share us, because if you're ever in those stores, you'll probably see me or Joe's handsome mug on television, because they do play our show a lot and we can't thank them enough. So definitely check them out if you are in the Middle Tennessee area. If you are not, please support your local comic book stores. Support your local libraries. These are the last places to where you can get comic books, where you can get mangas, anime, magazines. The reason why, because as Joe is showing right there, read the banned books, children. Read them, because I cannot stress this enough. If they banned it, that means you should be learning from it. So, of course, read banned books. Go to your local library, support your local comic book stores. And again, if you're in the Nashville area, support Rick's Comic City, because I cannot stress this enough. Reading is not only fundamental, it definitely will change you. Trust me, you'll get hooked on comic books faster than you get hooked on vaping pens. And comic books are cheaper. So, that being said, Joe, I see you're ready to go for it, sir. So, take it away.
This is it, Superman issue number 7. This starts out the new arc, The Chained. Let me see. Move on. Blah, blah, blah.
That's what I said.
I can talk, I promise. This is written by Josh Williamson with art by Gleb Melenkov and Dan Jurgens, Norm Rapmund and Edwin Gallman, colors by Alejandro Sanchez and Edwin Gallman. This is just a big anniversary issue. Sorry, I'm very tired. It's been a day at work. So this is Chain Part 2. So this is pretty much Superman is trapped by all the chains of the Chained, which uses his own strength against him. Meanwhile, the Chained is slowly moving through New York at a rider's pace so that the Superman family can intercept him and fight him. And we learned that the Chained has a very similar power set to one of the Superman family. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor is slowly recovering from an attempted prison assassination. Oh no, good book, great art. I like that they try to bring relevance to one of the lesser known Superman family members by making sure that the Chained and them have a similar power set. It lets us know that they are looking out for each individual Superman family member. Meanwhile, of course, Clark realizes, path of least resistance, I'm out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, hey, when you gotta vibrate, it works a lot better than superhuman strength.
Yep.
But Shag, any thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't read this particular issue, but I read the issue before because that's what's on DC Infinite at this moment. So forgive me, I'm not all caught up. But I really enjoyed the first part of the Chain story. And Joshua Williamson does a great version of Superman. I really enjoyed what was going on with the stuff at the Daily Planet, where Lois is struggling, in her new job, and I really enjoyed it. So once it comes on DC Infinite, I'm going to be all over this issue.
Nice. Then I won't. I got.
Jack, I do gotta ask.
Oh, don't worry about spoilers. Don't protect me. That's fine. Seriously.
Okay. I do got to ask, when they first revealed the Chain, did you think it was Alexander Luthor post-crisis? Because that's immediately what I thought when I saw him.
Oh, the crazy red hair. No, I didn't even think that at all. I figured it was just a new character, so I didn't even try and... I was trying to figure out... I figured he had some kind of connection to Superman's past, but I didn't know what it was going to be. No, I didn't think about it. That's funny. Alexander Luthor. The hair!
I mean, it was...
it was the hair immediately. It's like... Did we just reveal where Alexander Luthor's been ever since, Joker may have killed him 5 reboots ago?
I mean, it would be a nice connection, but I mean, I'm more surprised about Lex's daughter and mother just showing up. It's like, how bad of a mother do you have to be that your son puts you on an island to yourself? He literally puts you on an island to yourself with the armed security force to get away from you. That's pretty bad. And then, of course, Brainiac which it looks like, and I'm just implying here, it looks like he may have gotten to his daughter, which again, Brainiac always plays a long game. Brainiac and Darkseid have got to be the most two obsessed villains about one superhero to the point that they have this intricate long game just to get him. Never since Dr. Doom have I seen such planning just to get one individual. I mean, even reverse Flash has got limits.
So I got to ask: is this Lena? Is this his daughter Lena, or a different daughter?
Yes.
Because going all the way back to Action Comics 700 or something. I mean, I remember Brainiac 13. Luthor made a deal. He gave Lena to Brainiac. So yeah, it all comes back around again, I guess.
Yeah, but no, you'll like it though. It is a really good issue.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this Lena is just Lena and I have 2 dads. One's Lex and one's Brainiac.
My 2 dads? The DC version?
My 2 dads.
I can see it as a side story. My Two Dads, the DC version, but oh man, that would be weird.
By the way, they're both supervillains. Moving on over to Nightwing. This is written by Tom Taylor with art by Stephen Byrne. I wish DC would have all those tiny splash pages that just gives all the info rather than putting them in the comic itself. Guys, this is exactly what this is for. Tom Taylor's been doing this to us for a while now in Nightwing. Whether we see a comic through his entire POV, a comic where it's constantly in motion. Now, he purposely put in an interview, I did this issue solely for the fact that I mandated we make this look like the biggest romance novel we ever could. And it's even addressed in the book where he goes like, why are you wearing that? There was the only cause layout. There was a dresser drawer and cupboard right next to them. But whatever, now now as an agreement, you have to wear this the whole time.
All I can sit there and say was I was disappointed there wasn't one dreaded Pirate Roberts. Just one. All I asked for was one. Just one inconceivable. I would have been happy right at that point with The Princess Bride. Because the first time I saw
so the rundown on this is Rick Gray during the time where Nightwing was not a good book, when Rick Grayson was rolling around, he put something away so that should he be cured and go back to Dick Grayson, Dick would have something that would be special to Rick. I hate saying that sentence because that's always so confusing. As a result, Rick Grayson's girlfriend, which was very quickly scuttled away, was made into the captain of the ship that looks over the undersea locker of all of Bloodhaven for like crime and heroes alike. And since her father was murdered by somebody, she had Nightwing come in and do some stuff and look for it. And as a result, we have this. Also, Nightwing gets scared to jump in the river and do something for some reason, and we don't know why.
Yeah, he froze, but again, it's just like you decide to look like the dreaded Pirate Roberts. I mean, it's basically blue and white, but I'm like, come on, you're just waiting for Indigo Montoya to come out of nowhere. If I don't get one Indigo Montoya character out of this run, I'm going to be disappointed.
Maybe he'll slip in an As You Wish or something like that.
I would, you know what? That's all I would need. I would just need that. If I had that, I'm solid. But no, great issue to start the new arc. I'm not complaining. I am definitely getting the Princess Bride vibes, and it's one of my favorite movies. So this is right up my alley. I got nothing else for this because I keep waiting for that one moment that just christens the whole arc before it even gets started. But that's just me. But then again, I've always loved Nightwing, though.
I guarantee that's probably how it's going to be. His last line to Barbara I guarantee that'll probably be the last line that he tells Barbara when all this is done is "As you wish."
I can see that, but no, that's going to be awesome.
Moving on over to Green Lantern War Journal, the one Green Lantern book I read willingly. This is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, art by Montos, colors by Alex Gumarez. John goes with his mom to go get a job at Steelworks, gets it, and then is set upon by an alternate universe's zombie Star Sapphires. As the Queen Zombie Star Sapphire slowly makes her way to John, and alternate universe Guy Gardner also slowly gets to the planet. Meanwhile, Green Lantern's John's ringless because he's got the cosmic power. New Green Lanterns, which are now part of the Galactic Federation of whatever this time around, whatever conglomerate or planets we decided to have. He keeps trying to go to John Stewart and go, "Where is your ring? None of you on Earth are supposed to have a ring." Not knowing, because these are all rookie lanterns, and John's already like construct uppercutted one into Mars. So that's where the book is, and so far I'm digging it. I dig John Stewart. I like where this is going. Not a big fan of zombies, but alternate takes of different Lantern Corps, I'm always there for. And it's also nice to see someone using the other Lantern Corps.
Yeah, but like
Also,
like
Guy Gardner with huge shoulder pads. It's really weird, but it works for him.
it's just the whole thing. Like I said, that kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where it's like I know zombies, I get it, and I get that you're trying to do the Revenant Queen, and I get that you're trying to sit there and say that we're trying to corrupt Jon Stewart. It's okay. I mean, the story, don't get me wrong, story's still great. I will still watch it. Still read it. But yeah, it's just that I'm hoping the story amps up from where it's at, because I'm like, you're doing the zombie route. Now that we know that he's tainted, will it change him? Will it, it's always that, will he be corrupted? Will Revenant Queen get a hold of the cosmic power? That kind of thing. But still will read it though. It was a great issue.
I read issue 1 in preparation for the show and thought it was pretty good. It ended a little sudden. I'm also not the world's biggest zombie fan, but I thought the art was solid. I love the stuff with his mother. It sounds like that continues, which is great. The only thing I wish they would do instead of something like this is just put Jon Stewart out front. Make him the Green Lantern of Earth. Have him out there being the superhero. Forget the zombie stuff. Make it as shiny as the Superman book or something. I don't know. Like the Superman books I felt uplifted when I read them. The John books, I felt I was going into a darker tunnel, like scary place. Right. And for me, like, I'm going to digress for just a second. I'll keep it real short. But like the Green Lantern movie, once James Gunn gets all the other stuff off the shelf, the Green Lantern movie should be one of 3 things for me. It should just be a Jon Stewart movie, because all the kids grew up watching Justice League Unlimited. To them, Jon Stewart is Green Lantern. They're like, who's this white dude? Or if they're going to insist on a buddy cop movie, then make it Jon Stewart as the veteran and give him like a young Kyle Rayner. That would be great. Kyle Rayner, the rookie, training together. Or do a buddy cop movie with Jon Stewart again as like the straight shooter with a maverick Guy Gardner. Those are all 3 of those plots work. Any of that would make sense. So I as much as I am glad Jon Stewart has a book on the shelves, I just wish he was more of like the hero guy.
I immediately got Lethal Weapon vibes when you said Guy Gardner, Jon Stewart.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
That would be perfect. Oh, that would be perfect.
Personally, I want to see the one with Kyle. That's the version I want. But yeah.
That would be freaking perfect.
Yeah, DC is still super gun shy with Kyle. I don't know why. It's like they just don't want to promote him anymore. And I am glad we get other characters like Soldier Mullins. Like she is, the Farscape Lantern book is still one of the greatest Lantern books in the last 10 years. I will say that, and I will defend my ground on that till my dying day. I am all for that. I don't care about Teen Lantern. I'm glad they wiped her off the face of the earth. Jessica Cruz, one of the best Lanterns I've read in a good while. I think she is also well worth and needs her own book again. And I'm glad they gave the other Lantern, whose name escapes me at the moment, where he kind of became a version of Green Lantern War Machine.
Simon Baz?
Simon Baz.
Yeah,
there we go. I can live with that.
Yeah, he in the last thing before we got the new Green Lantern books, they gave him the mentality is like, well, I'm a mechanic, so he makes his ring turn himself into a War Machine type character.
Yeah, which would also be good, but I can't get Lethal Weapon style Green Lantern out of my head now.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but that solves the toilet bomb problem so easily with Power Rings.
It really does, but at the same time, I can see that Guy Gardner being on edge and Jon Stewart's coming on. I'm like, I can see that so well. And watch Gunn does something close to that. I could see that. Gunn could do something close to that, but
I digress.
That's Guy Gardner, so
yeah, that's gonna be in my head for a while. But go ahead.
No, by all means, digress as much as you want.
Oh no, I'm gonna be sitting there trying to write a script.
Okay, so we get a really weird. Okay, so we get Godzilla versus Kong versus the Justice League. This is written by Brian Bracello, art by Kristen Deuce, and colors by Luis Guerrero. This is kind of a weird book. So this is an Elseworld book. This is interesting. So this is a younger point of the Justice League where Superman is proposing to Lois and everybody's happy for him. But Hal Jordan, who says, why would you screw your life up like this? And even Batman's like goes to Cork as Bruce and goes,
Mhm.
"Hey, have you two thought about what your life is going to be like after you do this together?" And he's like, "Yeah, we had a long talk." And then Bruce just goes, "Awesome, I'm happy for you." Everyone's happy for him. He's taking vacation. Kara's tagging in to make up for the lack of Superman. How Jordan's like, he's going to ruin his life. He's going to ruin that woman's life. Everything's going to go downhill. And everybody just collectively goes, "Shut up, pal." Which makes my heart feel lighter. Meanwhile, the Legion of Doom sneak in to try to get sneak into the Fortress of Solitude, try to get a mother box to send the Justice League somewhere else. Toyman breaks it and gets them put on Skull Island. What makes this hilariously enjoyable is that Gorilla Grodd is part of this, and he sees Kong just like, God. And then tries to communicate to Kong in ape, and Kong's just like, "I can't hear you up here while you're down there." He literally gives Grodd this is like, "What in God's name are you talking about?"
Oh man.
So then Toyman makes the wish of stupidly, without anybody being aware of, "I wish all the monsters were back on our Earth with us." So he gets that wish. So all the legendary pictures kaiju are teleported to standard DC Earth. And as Superman is proposing, Godzilla rises out of the Metropolis Bay.
Which is going to make
This
for
was
an
fun.
epic-ass
This
story.
was funny. I really enjoyed it. I'm kind of a bummer, but that we didn't get the fight right away. But also, I have to understands like, I know we're not getting a fight right out the bat, because if we're seeing like Superman fight Godzilla straight out the gate, then we have nothing for the rest of the book.
Pretty much.
But I also really want to see what is Gorilla Grodd going to try and convince Kong to do, because that's just hilarious. I want to see if Kong has enough, if they're going to give Kong speech bubbles like, he won't shut up. Maybe I'll just like placate him for a while. I don't know.
Kong is going to try his hardest to. I'm sorry, Grodd's going to try his hardest to be like, he's our deity. I worship you, Kong. It's just the look on his face. It doesn't need words. It just needs confusion. The fact that he's trying to use words and Kong looks confused will be everything. And then when he tries to telepathically talk to him and realize Kong's gonna not like have a voice in his head, it can go one of two ways. He might welcome it. We might get a Loki situation. Grodd might get flattened. That's all I'm saying. But no, Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong was good. It does set up for an interesting story. And stories like this, I'm completely okay with. These are different. Not only are they different, they're fun. Who doesn't like kaijus? And we've always had those questions of, in a fight, who would win? Like we already saw Titano get easily handled by the time Flash gets over there. So you can only imagine Godzilla, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman and others fighting kaiju. But again, it's a great issue. I love the fact that everybody was giving marriage advice, and Hal was the only person going, just and everybody's just doing the whole shut up Hal thing, which again, I kind of love lost for Hal. The fact that everybody's telling him to shut up is a beautiful thing. But no, I can't lie. I like the issue as well.
I've heard it described as the book nobody asked for, but is a lot of fun.
Yes. That is great.
And Marvel is not far away this, because at the same time this was announced, they did announce that the Marvel Ultraman comic will be interacting with the Marvel Universe proper soon. So we are getting just giant monsters and Japanese superheroes galore mixing with our current stuff. I mean, Power Rangers have already met Godzilla, or met the Justice League before, so we're not too far away from Spider-Man meeting Kamen Rider Black at some point.
But it's close. It's close.
Speaking of that, moving on over to Marvel. Yep. Moving on over to Marvel, we are looking at Moon Knight number 128. This is written by Jed McKay with art by Federico Sabatini, colors by Rachel Rosenberg. As we can see here, this is the start of the last days of Moon Knight. So Team Moon Knight, which is now consisting of Tigra, who is Moon Knight's new girlfriend, Hunter's Moon, Soldier, and his vampire secretary are all taking on the new big bad, the Black Spectre, and also Zodiac, who is probably not going to end very well for that poor man, but he does these things to himself. And also, hilariously enough, Eyeball. Poor Eyeball has been like suckered into this to the point where he just can't do. He just wants out. He doesn't want a part of any of this.
But he does. But he does land the plane.
He does
do
great.
He does land the plane.
Or 8-ball, not Eyeball, 8-ball.
Ball.
Yeah, so this just starts to the climb the tower, defeat the final villain arc from Moon Knight. Hopefully this doesn't end Moon Knight properly, because this has been one of the best runs of Moon Knight in a good long time. And as someone who's collected the Lemire run and the Bendis run, this may be better than those. Like, I can't remember the last time I've enjoyed a Moon Knight run as much as this.
Yeah.
There actually hasn't even been a bad issue. It's been great or good. There hasn't really been it's adequate or it's fine. It's just been, this is good. This is really good.
Yeah.
The whole way through. And this is no different.
I got nothing more to add to that. That's just that it, like Joe said, this run on Moon Knight has probably been, if not arguably the best, one of the best runs that I've gotten to read. So I got nothing more I could add to that, because not to spoil it, just if you haven't already read it, you really should. Just because it's really worth the read. There's nothing more we could add more detail to this than the issue itself can do justice for. So that's probably the best compliment I can give to a comic book, is like, I could tell you, but it's better if you read it.
Looking at this cover, I'm just really glad that Baron Karza from the Micronauts is getting some work. So good on him.
They got to. I mean, it did not go well for that IDW run that he was in.
Oh my God! Oh, never! Don't speak of that run. That is no one should ever make the Micronauts boring. That's a crime.
Damn.
Oh, come on! It wasn't that bad. We at least got Action Man out of it.
I'm not having this conversation.
I was gonna say, really, because we keep on bringing up, really, Mr. Spider-Man Zeb Wells, and said this is not my Spider-Man.
Speaking of Spider-Man, love that transition.
No, I didn't do that to us. I'm not that kind of a person. We are going to be looking at Infamous Iron or Invincible. I actually just read all of Infamous Iron Man. I got it on trade, so that's why I said that. But Invincible Iron Man, which is part of Fall of X, issue of 11. This is written by Jerry Dugan with guest artist Andrea DeVito, coloring by Brian Valenza. Pretty much, this is Tony gets his Mysterium armor from Emma and goes to infiltrate Krakoa and get things back for Emma that she needs to help take down Orchis. We are also calling this the lingerie issue because there's just a lot of lingerie in this episode or issue. Also, I really feel bad for the Cuckoos in this one. Like, I really feel bad for the Cuckoos in this one because they made a whole picture album for her that even says to Mom. And Tony has in his hands like, hey, I got this. Do you want this? She's like, not important right now. Only get the case. And I feel it's like, your poor children. And then I realized, okay, maybe not quite, but still your poor children.
Any worse than the ape henchman?
Look, that is not his fault. That ape had 5 PhDs and still got his buddy into him.
That was still funny. That was still funny. No, I can't. Again, this is one of those. It's one of those issues that's just you have to read it. I love the fact of how they captured Tony just still with the one-liners, and you literally have Emma Frost just pretty much the analyst, the play-by-play, Wilder Game Mysterium, and of course Not to spoil it, but the weapon that's produced that everybody's annoyed with, which tells you that Tony Stark is on to something. So, again, great issue with the fall of X, which I think it started to head for Rise of X, if memory serves me right. But again, can't argue with this. Great
Fall of
issue.
X, Rise of 10. Yeah.
Thank you.
You had me at Emma Frost lingerie issue, so just want to say.
Yeah,
there's so much in this issue as he's fighting in a room. Like, it's just like this needs a higher rating, I feel, for children to read this book because there's just so much. And I'm just like,
go ahead.
I'm just like, no, I understand why she has this. It's Emma, but still.
It's still just, there has to be a little bit of an advisory. But, hey, at this point, you know what you signed up for. But go ahead, Joe.
Also, I really dig Emma in this one. Also, not for the cold-heartedness towards her kids, but just the fact that she even admits, like, being Hazel isn't so bad. Because, I mean, I don't have the pressures of hiding the fact that I'm a mutant right now. And they can't sense I'm a mutant. It's fine to just be chill in a bed and not have to worry about a sentinel coming through the window.
Yeah,
so it's like Emma's like taking some respite from and being Stark's wife, even though she's like, you need to hurry this up. I don't have time for you.
She's starting to get too complacent. You know how Emma does when she gets complacent.
Yeah.
Things happen.
Scott Summers.
Ooh, you said it. You said it.
All right, so next up we get Miles Morales. This is written by Cody Ziegler with art by Frederica Manson and Brian Valencia on colors. So Miles is not in a good way as his book. Cody Ziegler has done a good job with Miles since he took over from Saudi Ahmed. He has put Miles in a point where he is so stressed out that his spider sense is fritzing out. He has gone from one crisis to another. Most recently, he got out of his own solo fight against Carnage. And I don't know what they've been doing with the Carnage symbiote, but at this point, this thing is just like 2 steps away from being sued for being the Thing.
Yeah.
Now he's teaming up with Blade because vampires are slowly encroaching on Brooklyn. Also, not pictured because we won't spoil this thing, but Blade chants a mystical incantation and gives Miles his own vampire hunter suit, which people thought would be Miles' new permanent suit, and then it's like, guys, this is just for the arc. Don't worry about that.
It just gets better.
Also, Miles gets a speedster friend introduced in this, which they don't introduce a lot of speedsters in the Marvel Universe. So that's pretty unique.
I'd leave that alone because, again, I am not gonna give any details about this because we kind of have been doing it this entire show. I will just say, read it. You will not be disappointed. If you were like me, you were probably chuckling your ass off about halfway through the issue. I'll leave it at that.
It's the petticoat, isn't it?
It's not just that. I just can't say it. I'll wait till we're off. I'll wait till we're offline. I'll say it then.
Okay. Yeah, I know you're not up to date on it, Shag, but anything you want to think you can glean off the cover?
Oh, I mean, we talked about the vampire stuff earlier. We talked about the direction. I'll just say check back in 2 years and see if he's still using a sword.
This is true. Venom sabers everywhere.
And everyone gets reset back to their most iconic version. And Miles' most iconic version is not with a sword.
That is very true, but wow. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to laugh. I'm trying not to laugh because if I laugh loud. So I'm trying to keep it quiet. Say what?
I said, that's it for comics.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you, Joe, for that. But as we wrap this up, guys, interruptions inside because we keep on stepping all over each other. But aside from that, thank you, Joe, for the pulls today. Thank you, Shaggy, for being for riding along with us. Again, we cannot thank you enough. We know you are a very, 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 very busy man. So we definitely do thank you for your time. Do you want the people to know where they can find you and things of that nature, sir?
Oh, sure. Well, I appreciate that. And thank you so much for having me on the show. And it's funny you say everyone's busy. Everyone's life is busy. My life's no busier than anyone else's. So, but thank you so much for having me on the show. This has been an absolute blast. I've really enjoyed going through this and encouraged me to read a lot of current books that I haven't read before. So that's been a lot of fun. You can find me over at the Fire and Water Podcast Network. My show specifically that I've been doing is Justice League International Bwahaha Podcast. Once Upon a Geek and Justice Society Presents. Those are the big ones you can find me on. Social media, you can find me as Once Upon a Geek. I'm on there on the Twitters or the X or whatever the heck it is this week, and Facebook and the Blue Sky and smoke signals and whatever way you want to find me.
Gotcha. Thank you again, man. Really do thank you for your time. I know, like I said, you're right. Everybody's busy, but man, you make us look lazy. I'm just going to be honest about that. Joe, I know that we have Multi-City Music Con coming up, sir, but you want to let people know what's going on with you and where they can find you?
I'm a very tired Ghostbuster. I just want everybody to know that. I have not taken the Proton Pack out of my car in 2 weeks. That 40-pound monster of MDF and PVC is still sitting in the back seat. Last week alone, I did 4 events. I got Music City Multicon. Then Sunday, I am going to be at the Adventure Science Center for Halloween Smash with the Ghostbusters. Then the following Saturday, I got a fall festival over in Franklin. And then I think I can take a break, maybe. And if I'm not in Ghostbuster, I'm in Extreme Ghostbuster. And if I'm not in Extreme Ghostbusters, I am in the IDW Ghost Smasher uniform. I am in something Ghostbuster related all this week, mostly because I want to be lazy, and Ghost Smasher lets me be in either pants and shorts and a t-shirt and a vest.
I was going to say, hopefully find sleep. I hope.
There is only Spider-Man and Cyberpunk 2077 to play. What is sleep?
Just keep on rubbing it in.
Other than that, I will probably, after I do my own personal playthrough, I'll probably stream Spider-Man 2. Mm-hmm. I know there's not a New Game Plus right now. They said that's coming in a patch later on down the road. Or I'm still fairly early on into my second or fifth run of Cyberpunk. So this time I'm a Corpo Rat that's going to be using tech weapons and maybe a Sevestin build, which is the hyperspeed build. So at some point I'll get around to using swords, but not right now. There's too many fancy laser weapons I want to use. Other than that, I'm on Facebook, the whatever we're calling the Elon Musk thing until he starts charging us $1, and then I'll sign out, never sign back on again.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll open up a Threads account and go there. Then of course I got the Twitch, Joey Italian last name, which at some point I swear to God I'll use again. I am also over on Ranger Ops whenever Shadow decides we are got to do an episode. And I have no idea what the heck I'm doing with the Total Justice Gaming YouTube page at this point. It's just kind of sitting there looking pretty. Either losing or gaining subscribers day by day. I don't know which.
It's still, hey, it's active. That's the big thing. It's active. Oh, God. Thank you, Joe. But also some shameless plugging before we wrap it up, guys. I always do guys shout out to the guys that actually help the beats with the show, Vaughn and Big VZA Dot. You can definitely find him, Big VZA Dot, on all social media. He actually has his own YouTube page on YouTube for beats that you can use for free. If you are looking into more personalized beats, definitely check him out, Big VZA Dot, on all social media. As for myself, guys, you can find me BlackFox447 on all the socials. I usually do reviews on almost everything that I do, including gym stuff. At the same time, guys, the link at the bottom that you see trailing down there, let me make this just a little bit bigger for you guys to see. If you copy and paste that link into your podcast, it'll take it or your podcast. If you copy and paste this link into your browser, It will take you to the YouTube and Facebook groups for all of our podcasts. How the Forever Got Here, Get Bit, and Y'all Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Let us know of what you think of everything that we discussed tonight, guys. The only rules that we do have in this discussions is keep it clean. There are no right or wrong answers. And above all else, we can agree to disagree. It is completely fine. Aside from that, guys, I do like, as Joe said, if you are in the Middle Tennessee area, Music City Multicon is happening this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Definitely, if you never had a chance to go to a con, definitely go to one. It is fun. I do have 3 rules. 3 rules that I will always say whenever going to con. Number 1, first and foremost, respect the cosplayer at all times. These are individuals that have taken their passion, and I've always said it best. To me, they are some of the bravest people I know, because it's one thing to wear your passion. It's another thing to wear your passion outside and not get people to be judging you or things of that nature. To me, that's bravery. I always respect it. So again, if you see somebody cosplaying, give them a compliment. Say it looks great and go from there. And again, be respectful. I cannot stress this enough. Just because I see this, I don't see it as much as I used to, which I'm glad about. But again, respect cosplayers if asking you to take pictures. Understand they are not obligated to give you pictures. If they say yes, be respectful. Don't be a douche and simply take the picture. But if they say no, move on. That is their right. They are not your plaything. Number 2, I know there was a grunge area. There was a grunge time in America. But as long as soap, water, deodorant, and things of that nature are still available in the travel aisle for less than $2, please come to the cons clean. Hygiene. I mean, soap, toothbrush, mouthwash, cologne. Not a lot. But just saying, because these cons can be as wide as a football field, but they can be packed like sardines in a can. Nobody wants to smell another funky person. Above all else, hygiene. Number 3 is a rule that Will Wheaton has come up with that I say all the time, because I've always said it best in this world. There's way too much negativity. There's way too much stuff going on. Simply put, when you're at these cons, be nice, be kind, don't be a dick. It is that simple. If you follow those 3 rules, you will have the time of your life at a con. I promise you. You will make friends there. You will definitely get a lot of deals with vendors there. At the same time, if you've never been to a con, by all means, go one day, see if it doesn't change your life. That's all I'm saying. But that being said, guys, we definitely do thank everybody for watching, for liking when this goes live, for commenting. We cannot thank you enough. Me and Joe love doing this on a weekly basis. One of these days, those Spotify endorsement deals are going to come through. As Joe would say, our podcast can be heard practically almost everywhere, except Apple until next week, and then we'll be seen on Apple Podcasts as well. So Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, pretty much wherever podcasts can be seen or heard is where you can actually find us under Get Bit, which we kind of find out that we're getting traction now. I think only because Joe has threatened people. So I think that's the reason why. But that being said, again, Shag, thank you so much for being a part of our guest.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
We will definitely be back here, guys. Same Get Bit time and same Get Bit channel. And again, as I say this in closing, before I say this, guys, any last words that you guys want to say?
Just saying thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
Joe?
Oh, my PlayStation turned off.
That being said, guys, the one thing about Get Bit is it's all about fandoms. If you have a fandom and you're passionate about it, the only thing that we do ask you to do is share it and encourage it. Don't be toxic. Don't try to say one is better than the other, because that's the only reason why fandoms die, because we put more hate in it than passion. You can be passionate and you can share it and you can open the door for others. So simply do that. Aside from that, take care of yourselves and each other. And again, from me, from Joe, from Shag, this has been the Get Bit Podcast, guys. Thank you all for watching. Take care of yourselves and have a good one.